Hello and welcome to Politically Incorrect Knitters, your knitting news source. My name is Anne Pinkava, joined as always by the lovely Deplorable Knitter.
Hello. It's always so awkward every week.
Every single week. All right.
So this week I have a tiny bit of knitting. Anne has a bit of knitting because she's just, a machine. And we have some news. So what do you have to show us first, Anne?
First off, it's been a week. Secondly,
it has been a week. It's been bad. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, not a super amount of knitting. I'm working on my sweater still, and I gotta adjust it because I'm doing the 2 at a time sleeve, so weird pinned back sweater. So, but I finished I've bound off on the bottom. So there's the sweater again. There's the Donald. Woohoo.
Nice.
And yeah, it's all, I'm going to have to block it. It's coming together a little bit. Way too much ribbing. But hey, the stripes are there. The body is done. The sleeves are coming.
Very nice. I like it a lot. And you were teasing last week after we recorded that, it might not have that much stripes underneath it, but I think it looks good. I think you've got a good amount of, it's centered well, so it works out in your favor.
Which, actually, it's not quite centered, but I'm not going to tell you that so you don't notice, okay?
Well, I'm surprised that you left it with it being not quite centered because you're you.
That's true.
And you can't stand that stuff.
No, I'm just gonna roll with it at this point. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I
not taking out a whole sweater for that.
Nope. Not even a little bit.
Cool. Glad you're loosening up a bit.
Yeah, but well, and part of it is, it's just a stockinette stitch sweater. So just the boring factor of having, knit rows are fast, but my purl rows are slower. Like this takes forever, then fast, then slow, and fast and slow, and it annoys me. So the idea of just doing that again, most of my intarsia, with the beanies that I do, I'll do ribbing. So, knit 2, purl 2. Well, it's fairly fast. There's a rhythm to it. I don't have to think much, but just for some reason, psychologically, the long purl rows just drive me nuts. So,
yeah, I give you credit because I don't knit sweaters. I have no use for sitting there doing the same thing over and over again. So, kudos to you. Nice job.
Which, I don't know. It's one of those things of it's like, oh well. It's not the most fancy thing. It's, I've done the cable sweaters or the lace or everything else. It's like, oh, well, shouldn't you, if you got to complain about work, why don't you complain about that? Plain purl rows aren't difficult. I'm like, yeah, but they're boring.
Right. There is, yeah. I don't like to do anything that, so I know that you're talking about your knitting, but
sure, go ahead.
A good example of this is that, I'm making this pattern by miscellaneous. It's called, it's a Greek word, so I'm not even going to say it because I don't know how it's pronounced. I'll put up the name. But her pattern calls for 2.5 inches of knit 2, purl 1 through the back loop.
Okay.
And I did it. Let me tell you, I never, ever knit things like to the pattern because my God, it's mind-numbing. 2.5 inches of ribbing? Come on. Like, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. And it's so when I was in my funk, I did a poll on Instagram and I said, hey, what should I knit? What should I work on? And people are like, make washcloths. I don't like to make washcloths. I made some patterns for washcloths once. It was painful. It took way longer than one thinks a pattern. Like, I can make a hat pattern in a day. It took me like a week and a half to do the washcloths to get them the proper size with the font in the middle, with the I don't like them.
Right.
So people are like, oh, make some washcloths. I'm like, I'd rather stab my eyes out. And other people are like, oh, make a baby blanket. Also boring. Also won't knit that. So
Right.
I went to my friend Athena, who does knits and knacks, and it was between this one, which I don't think you can really see the lace pattern that much yet, but it's
A little bit.
coming. It's like a cabled lace. It's eyelets and cables, and it's not
Mm.
difficult because, you know, but and it was between this and a color work hat, and I really wanted to get the color work one, but I was like, which one would I not make? If I were designing a pattern, which one would be the one I would do? And
Mm.
obviously it's this one because we all know I do color work. So
Right.
I started that just to do something different, and it's a very nice pattern. And I'll put the name down in case anybody wants to know. But yeah, three
Nice.
inches, 2.5 inches of ribbing. It was awful. It was not my thing.
Well,
So
I was telling you a little bit before that there was a lady on Facebook who back in November asked if I would do like this washcloth pattern that her son had come up with. And I went, oh yeah, sure. Like that won't take me any time at all. And then I totally forgot about it. And she messaged me like a week ago, said, hey, were you ever going to do that? I'm like, oh no. So stop everything, quick knit it out. And he is an SEA guy. So this is it. I don't know if you can see it. It's supposed to be like a laurel wreath kind of a thing.
okay, what's SEA?
Society for Creative Anachronism. It's not the LARPers. That's important. But no, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, that it is a mostly medieval group, though I think they go from what ancient Rome technically to Renaissance, so a huge swath of history. But it's I don't know, you dress up, you have your own, like I am dressing as a German peasant from the 1100s, and this is what my outfit would be like, this is what I would eat, this is how my life would go, the whole thing. So it's stuff like that. It's medieval groups basically, how they
Okay.
it's
That's
all
interesting.
to a certain point hoity-toity. You can get into some very intense not power struggles, but there's a certain amount of, oh well, I've been doing this for years and my research says this, and you're just showing up here because you've really enjoyed A Knight's Tale and you're not good enough. It's like, well, everyone should be able to play if they want to learn about history and have a good time. So yeah, they do events and they do feasts and they do a certain amount of like sword fighting stuff, and it's fun. It's a good time had by
Okay.
all. It's a
That's cool.
worldwide organization. Um,
And for people watching who don't know, LARPing is live action role playing where you
yes.
dress up as, is it often like,
LARPing is more fantasy.
that's what I was trying to get
Right.
at. Like, is it more like, I was going to say fake, but like,
Right. In
it's more like comic kind of stuff as opposed to,
Right. Right. The
yeah.
LARPers will glue little horns on their heads and have it. LARPers are a fun time too, but there is a distinction that the SEA people they will at least try for historical accuracy and get very hoity-toity if you're not absolutely perfect. So yeah, it's a different world. It's something that as you can tell by my information that I've been around SEA people, less LARP people, but yeah.
I was going to say, yes, you seem to know what this actually is. So I only know what
Oh yeah.
LARPing is because I read a story where it was referenced. And so I found out what it was, but otherwise I would have been like, what, or like I have no idea what we're even talking about right now.
No, I've done different historical events, all through childhood. So my
And you've mentioned that before. So yeah,
yeah,
it
my
makes sense that you know some of it.
my people are nerds way back. So, but yeah, it just the sheer breadth of nerdy knowledge about like medieval cookbooks or how fabrics are made or whatever I adore about these groups. But you do get a certain amount of snoof factor that is unnecessary. But that's with anything. So
Okay, so now that we've gone on a rant about LARPing and
yeah, I'm
SEA,
sorry.
could you show us the laurel again?
Yes, sorry, the laurel wreath, because that is I don't know, one of the awards that they give out if you've been in the
It's
club for a
cool.
while. Yeah, so it's nice.
Nice.
Um, it's or the other side too. I forget which side it's supposed to be. I think this is supposed to be the correct side, but it looks better on the back side. But
I like it. Either way, I like it.
Yeah, as always, the issue when you're putting out a knitting pattern is that knit stitches are not square. So and this was, made by someone who is just doing a graph that the whole up down thing is like, no, it when you're doing a pattern, it needs to be taller than it is wide if you want it to be in round. But hey, good job. First go. I can see leaves. So
do you have anything else that you've been working on this week? Is that all? Is that all you have, Anne?
that's all I have. I can't believe it.
Well, here, I'm going to be totally lame. So I started a new pattern, and friends, it's the storm. So good luck knowing what that's going to be, but there it is.
It's going to be a hat someday.
Well, obviously it's going to grow up to be a hat. I mean, I'm making it, but it's going to have a design on it, and no one knows what it is yet because it's this big. So
is that some of the chicken lady yarn?
No, actually, this is some that I dyed myself, and it's actually my mom's hand spun.
Oh.
And it's my mom's hand spun from when she was learning. So, like, if you look at it, I don't know if you can see it. It's like way over twisted, and then it's bigger, and then it's like way over. I don't mind it though, and like this is a sport weight yarn, and I'm using this kind of thick and thin, and I was like, I think it'll be okay because it's for the pattern, and it might stick out some extra, but I was trying to just use some. So when I was starting to learn how to dye yarn, I would dye anything that was wool. I have a lot of like skeins that are like not big enough to do a whole project. And so I've decided to kind of start throwing them into like my designs, and like that way at least I'm using them because some of them are really pretty. I just haven't gotten around to doing anything with them. So and then so that's that. And Anne and I were going to tell you guys that this week we got contacted by our people who were doing the museum exhibit, and sadly there is no longer a museum exhibit.
Right.
So we're kind of bummed.
And part of that too, it's a bummer, but also like, they kept changing like, oh, well, we're going to put it out farther. Oh, we're going to do this. And it's like, and then it fell through like, I could see this coming a bit.
Yeah. But I mean, I kept holding out hope that like, oh, well, now COVID's calming down and, it'll come back and it'll be, but they are not doing it. They are going a different way. It is going to be illustrated essay.
Right.
So Anne and I are waiting to get more information on that because I'm not sure how I feel about an illustrated essay.
Yeah.
Depends on who's writing it.
Yeah, it sounds a bit weird to me, but whatever. We will keep you updated.
Yeah. Did you want to show your pieces again? So because they've changed what they're doing, but they still want some of the pieces I submitted, and they still want the parts of, they don't necessarily need our quilt to be completed, but they are interested in the quilt that Anne and I proposed. So as a refresh, here's Anne's pieces because I still just have one that's in a drawer somewhere I'll have to find.
Right. Well, and it's terrible because I actually, one of the things that part of my display is that I had a Union Jack hat that I actually sent that off to somebody last week because they wanted it. So, I was like, oh, well, I have to knit another one of those. It's like, but now I have to knit it less, which is awesome. But I was super excited because this means that, I've set apart things for the exhibit. But this Taiwan sweater that I made, which I'm going to show off again, because I love it, it's like, I don't want to knit another one of these ever again. So, and flip Oops, I got all caught up in my cords. It has pockets. It's adorable.
And it has a zipper. I mean, that's pretty tricky. The
Yeah.
whole thing is pretty fabulous.
Yeah, it's yeah, so like this was based on the Taiwan flag being taken off the jacket in Top Gun. So I thought I'd make an entire Taiwan flag kind of sweater jacket thingy. I'm like, awesome. I don't have to put this in an exhibit. I can wear this now. Go out in public with
Nice.
my Coolio Taiwan sweater. But yeah. And then the quilt squares that I had, I've shown them before, but woohoo. Got Come and Take It. Got Don't Tread on Me. Which, frankly, all of these would make great sweaters, but got the American crest eagle thingy.
Yep. And those are lovely pieces. I forgot how nice your well, I forgot how nice they all were, honestly, but that crest you did, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I bow in honor of your skill.
Well, thanks. I don't know. I've been, these were all done last year. So it's just like they've just been sitting in a corner again, waiting for their time. I haven't done more since I finished those. I've had a couple ideas, like I said, the Betsy Ross flag, but I haven't like done more of that. They're just sort of like, and that's that's one of my big problems with patterns generally, is that, I want, and even for taking pictures of things, like I'm very bad at in progress pictures because I get excited about starting it and then I go all the way through and I finish it and then I don't think about it anymore. Like that is not what I need to do. I need to sit there and figure it out and produce it in a nice way.
And be excited the whole time through. I do that too. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I have this idea. I have to knit it right now. I'll get like a third of the way through it. I'll be like, this is not doing what I wanted it to, into the pile. And then it's just over. Like,
right.
Ooh, no idea. Dog with a puffy tail.
Right.
Squirrel.
But yeah, I have that issue a lot.
So Anne and I will let you know what's going to happen with the essay, because I don't know, like I said, I guess it depends on how it's going to be presented. I'm a little bit concerned about it. I know some of the other artists involved were a bit concerned because depending on who's writing it, we could look like nut jobs, or we could, I'm okay with being a nut job, but we got to see what they say.
Exactly.
So we'll have more info.
And again, we could always, start our own pizza place. We could write our own essay book, but
I know how to publish stuff now.
Hey.
My stepdad's been publishing his own books, so we can do whatever we want.
Exactly. Well, you mentioned the idea of publishing a book with your patterns and little, kind of essay things in it too. So, hey.
Yeah. Yeah, true. I didn't even look at it that way. I wasn't thinking about essays. I was thinking stories, but yeah.
Well, both.
I think the difference with this is that it's going to be more like a scholarly look into things. So I'm certainly not scholarly. I am just me.
So well, that's part of the things with, and they're talking about not so much interest in the sort of conservative, it sounded like not even just from an outside standpoint, but that not many people wanted to submit works to this. It's like, yeah, because conservative women don't think they're special for making things. That like, yeah, I make it and then we're done. like no, and this is petty, but it reminds me, there's this book called Sweater Quest, and I read it ages ago, and it's about it's sort of the origins of Ravelry. And it's this lady, and she's talking about this Alice Starmore sweater that she knit, and that she went online and she got the specific special yarn for this, and it's a Fair Isle sweater. And no one that I know would get a book deal to knit a Fair Isle sweater. Like, woohoo, great accomplishment. You took all the time and effort, but just knit the sweater. You don't need to tell anyone. Like, you don't need to write a book about it. And then,
That's true.
it's like, so you knit a sweater with special yarn. I mean, la-di-da. What? But, that's the thing. So, that it's more of a, well, this is a special thing that I do. Well, and then your experiences specifically, it's like, well, your knitting actually caused a huge internet kerfuffle and different reasons that way. But it's you're not writing a book about how you knit somebody else's set sweater pattern and how that makes you great.
Right. And I don't have a book deal for it. I just thought I would do it in case anybody wanted to know about the stories about why I picked the designs. Right. But people might not care. So maybe I won't. We'll see.
Well, like I said, at least it's your own work.
I know, right? So anyway, Anne and I might write our own essays. We'll have to see. Maybe we'll have to write a rebuttal. I don't know. It's hard to say. So I think that's all we had going on in the knitting world. So that's all the knitting news. Anyway.
I don't know.
I don't have anything else. I'm sure that there's things I haven't gotten too deep into the alternate knitting universe. Some weeks I do deep dives, and other weeks I'm like, ugh, I can't stand this. And so I don't have anything new to report on the other side.
Right. It's like I just want to knit nice things and not have to think about the
Yeah. So there's some news though.
Yeah.
Giuliani.
Yes.
So Giuliani the Department of Justice came into his apartment yesterday and seized a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, took a bunch of electronics.
Yeah, laptop, phone. The funniest thing about it though is that they left one thing in his apartment. Want to know what it was?
What?
His copy of Hunter Biden's laptop.
What?
Yeah. So apparently,
it's like, oh, we don't want that.
They're not worried about that, which is totally full of all kinds of illegal things, but everything else.
Right.
And
because Giuliani is clearly the criminal here.
Yeah. I mean, did they disclose what they're looking for? Do you want me to tell you what it's for?
What is it for? Because I don't actually know.
So he went to Ukraine at some point last year or something to look into Hunter Biden and his stuff, and they said that it was it had something to do with illegal lobby. Yeah. And I'm not entirely sure on how this all works, but so they're saying when he went to Ukraine to check out Hunter and what was going on with him, that's what they're looking for, that he was doing illegal stuff. So that's what's happening. Yeah, but I can't believe that they left his copy of Hunter's laptop.
Right.
Like, that's the only thing you didn't take. Really?
Right.
Really sad. But on the flip side, so Giuliani is being investigated. And on the flip side, Hunter is going to be a guest lecturer at Tulane University talking about media bias.
And fake news.
What flippin' world are we living in that he would be an authority on anything, much less that? I mean, if they needed a authority on how to properly fill your crack pipe, I think he would be more qualified.
I think if anything, he ought to be an art lecturer on how to take nude crack selfies, because clearly he's got it down to a T. He has so many on his laptop that, if anyone is an expert on that, you should call him in. And the way that the art system is going right now, I'm sure that will be displayed in every art house. I mean, certainly better than red square on brown square.
That's really funny, but when his laptop came out, I clicked the link that somebody said, oh, here's stuff that was on his laptop. I didn't know
Oh
what was
dear.
on his laptop.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, scarring. I am scarred for life.
Yeah, luckily I was warned. And I'm like,
I had no idea. It was, oh my God, it was terrifying.
uh-huh.
But once again, I've seen the things where they were like, if Don Jr. had a picture of a crack pipe hanging out of his mouth, he would be in so much trouble. Like, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
And I know what's going on too. Well, I don't know what's going on, but I have theories.
Right.
So yeah, last night was Biden's speech, joint address to Congress or whatever it's called, right?
Yes. I believe they did not call it the State of the Union speech, which was weird, but okay.
Right. But first off, they only invited 200 people.
Mm-hmm.
When Congress is in session, there's more than that of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they've all been vaccinated. So why can't they all sit next to each other on their little benches and watch the show? What are we hiding?
Oh, it's ridiculous. And I mean, always to call back to Trump's last State of the Union speech. They joking about it being the State of the Union show, but he had stories, he had people, he had a policy decision specifically with people's stories the whole way through. And you had the Democrat women who were all wearing white, like it was some sort of witchy KKK hybrid. That was weird, but they were. And it was, that you had this whole production going on. And then with the Biden joint address, he starts out with a joke that nobody gets and then says about how there's two women behind him who look like two halves to the same, like, crappy and yet fancy hotel room. Like, you paid a lot of money for this, but you can tell that the drapes are cheap. That there's Kamala and she's in gold and she has the sort of necklace wrap around with the pearls like a curtain pole. And then you have Nancy over there and, she's wearing, she came as the sofa with her extremely square shoulders and the weird sort of swirly fabric that you feel like it's backed with rubber. And she's sitting there, deer in headlights. No expression. Was Kamala like does the ha 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 laugh the whole time? Like,
people were talking about how they couldn't believe that she was able to keep that expression on her face.
Oh, I know. Seriously, like this is the mouth in which sound policy decisions come out of.
Yeah. Well, I love it that he opened up talking about how great it was that he was backed by two women.
Mm-hmm.
But in Nancy Pelosi's house, right? She's the house, isn't she?
Yes.
So in the house, you're not allowed to use gender specific terms. So therefore, we shouldn't be talking about how they're women because that's the proper progressive thing to do. So
right.
It's so weird. They like whatever. But I didn't watch it.
Logic is racist.
Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me.
Which is more racist. It's so bad. It's like, it's just wrong on wrong on wrong on wrong.
It's all wrong. But I didn't watch it. I watched Mark Levin and Glenn Beck. They did a segment on it. And then after Levin was done, Glenn Beck was talking with some of his other people. I'm not certain who they were, but they were discussing it. And one of the points that they brought up was that it was so bad on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
They are saying that this Biden administration is purposely boring and bland and whatever, because do you know how many American people watched it? Not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's telling us what he wants to do, but we're not listening because it's the way it's presented. And they're doing it on purpose because he's saying all this crap and then he's telling us what he's going to do, but it's presented in such a way that nobody's actually listening.
Right.
And so,
to bring in a literary reference, it's rather like Dolores Umbridge at the beginning of the fifth Harry Potter book, where she shoulders her way in to do a start of term speech. And, for those of us less familiar with Harry Potter, that she's sort of the government institutionalized teacher coming in to screw up the school. And she gives this speech, and she drones on, and it's boring and nobody pays attention. And, at the end, Ron's like, what a load of drivel. And Hermione's like, oh, this is bad. She's paying attention. She's like, this is some really bad stuff that she's coming in and saying. And it's like that. I admit, in watching the Biden speech, it was painful. And it was, like Mark Stein says, it's like showing, it is in your face how much the government disrespects you by trotting out a Joe Biden figure. That he is so incoherent. He is so bad. There is so many just blatant lies in what he says. In, talking about how the $15 minimum wage is really going to save us all, and that his budget is balanced totally for his multi-trillion-dollar crap. That we all know that 12 years is not enough for education, so we're going to do free colleges, but not just for us, but for those dreamers. Just absolute drivel and statistics that don't actually make sense. I wrote this one down. When a young child goes to school and not daycare, they are more likely to graduate high school and college. They're pushing for younger and younger, send your 3 and 4-year-olds to school.
Well, that's what I've been saying. They want to raise our children. They don't like people like me who have stopped working to raise my children, because now they're not in the system. But that's actually not true. Maybe they do have better graduation rates, but kids who do, like, I don't know if they have it everywhere, but like the Head Start program, do you guys have that where it's, I don't know, pre-K or something? Those kids may perform better the first couple of years, but after they hit a certain grade, it's not terribly big. It's like second or third grade. They have lost any edge that they had over the other kids. Everybody evens out and catches up. So, but no, it's not about education. It's not about these kids need better opportunities, because if that were the case, we wouldn't be paying people to sit on their butts. We would be encouraging them to get back to work and have opportunities. No, it's about raising your kids. And that's why things like getting on the school board if you feel you need to, or speaking out at the meetings or whatever, is important, because they are trying to indoctrinate our children, and they're trying to do it earlier and earlier, and they don't want you to know it, which is why those teachers didn't want parents watching Zoom calls. What are you telling my kids that I can't hear?
Right.
And I think that it's a lot of stuff has come out through this pandemic. I know it's supposed to be the Great Reset, but I think that those of us who are in the know a lot more because of it now. Right. So, sorry, it's a little tangent, but
no, totally. And also, there's a certain amount of, wow, I didn't know it was this bad, but a lot of this has been going on for a while. And not just, like the school indoctrination sort of a thing, where it's like, oh, well, suddenly they're pushing a lot of liberal policies. Well, they've been pushing a lot of liberal policies on kids for a long time. That it's just sort of, it's coming to a T right now, but what
I think it maybe wasn't as blatant in the past, and and it was less sinister. It wasn't, you need to teach 5-year-olds about gender and about being trans. It was, I'm not sure what it was, but it was things that were easier to write off. Like, oh, it's not, I don't agree with that, but that's okay. It's not that big of a deal. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, we need transgenders now. Like, what is that? Anyway, like I said, tangent.
It's very much the pot is boiling sort of a thing, but it has been heating up for a while.
Right. Right. But yeah, we're frogs. We've been in it. We don't even see it. And now it's on fire and we're kind of screwed. But anyway, the state of the state, it's not the state of the state, it's joint session of Congress.
Joint session of Congress, yes.
But it wasn't all of Congress. I mean,
no.
Only invited Congress. So how did you get on the list? How does one get on the list?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I am ignorant to these pets. But Ted Cruz was there. I was going to say Tom Cruise. Well, if Tom Cruise was there, that would have been interesting, but no.
Exactly. If Tom Cruise was there, it would have been the Oscars and no one would have worn masks and they would have been full and they would just say, well, it's like a movie set, so that means it's okay. And they would have had a lot more homeless people to kick out first. So
I wasn't going to talk about the Oscars, but man, what a freaking piece of nonsense that was. Did you see any clips from that?
Oh, I only saw a little bit. I heard Andrew Lawton speak about it, and I mean that's about as much as I could take. His analysis was that they didn't even try to be funny unless the whole thing was the joke. But I don't know what you saw.
Well, there was an older Black gentleman. I don't know who he was because I don't keep up with like pop culture. Mm-hmm. He was talking about how disproportionately Black men are killed and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're just perpetuating this lie that's not even true. If you look at numbers, and since we are all in our state mandated school system, we should all be able to read these numbers. It's not true. It was twice as many white people are killed by cops.
Right.
But they are pushing this thing. And so this guy is giving the speech and he's on and on about police brutality and we have to save our Black men. And then he finishes his speech and the guy standing next to him says, well, we'd like to thank Netflix. Like just back on with the speech. Like it was this whole
right.
And then there was a woman.
Now that you've displayed your virtue, we would like to thank our sponsors.
Yes.
Without which, Netflix. Right?
We wouldn't be here preaching at your face. So there you go. No, but it was nonsense. And then there was another woman she was Black, and she was talking about how if things had gone differently in Minnesota, she would have had to trade in her heels for her marching boots and be out on the streets. And it's like, you guys are the problem, right? Like, you're not the whole problem, but you're not helping anything. Like, do you even know what you're talking about?
Ma'am.
For real? Are you going to really be on the street?
What universe do you live in? And if you're on the street, will you bring your security with you? Probably,
because she's not going to be taking any chances out there with the crazies. But it's just such a crazy display of this alternate reality we live in.
No, exactly. And to repeat again, for the Oscars, they had to remove all of the homeless people out of the area and erect little structure, have little gates and fences and have security. And it's like, yes, you are so compassionate. And that you have these elaborate, you have the elaborate costumes and the dresses and everything. And it's supposed to be all very glamorous. And if you have, if you have a glamorous event, it's nice to see a glamorous event, see it on, you want the Oscars, you want to see beautiful people in nice clothes telling funny jokes about movies that you have enjoyed. None of that happened. Like it was like, what is this? So I'm going to get on this stage and I'm going to preach at you. And none of, that you have the, Hollywood, it used to be all lovely and glamorous and everything else. Old school Hollywood that did, that actually did like good social change, that they actually had stories that pushed the narrative on different issues, that when they got up and talked about charity, they were like giving money to orphans, useful, practical things, actually, having good artistic vision in the products they create. Yeah, none of that, not happening at all. You just, nobody laughs, everybody claps for the correct opinions,
Right. And it's turned into this crazy grandstanding thing. And, to even be nominated, you have to have this person that's this color and this person that's that color. And um, it sometimes it doesn't fit with what you're making.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that there shouldn't be diversity and there shouldn't be, but an actor's like gender identity or sexual orientation or whatever shouldn't have any bearing on whether or not it's a good film.
Mm-hmm.
Their race, their gender, their who they marry. That doesn't make it a good film or not. It's either a good film or it's not. And
Right.
I don't know. I think that, but this year, 23, no, in 2020, around 23 million people watched the Oscars. This year, 9.5 watched it. So they've lost more than half their audience this year. So
Right.
I don't know. Maybe they'll start listening. I don't know. I doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the only way they're going to listen is if we stop giving them money.
Right.
Nonsense, Anne.
Don't worry, it'll be like CNN. You don't need to make actual money. The Chinese will send you some.
Oh, that is true.
Oh.
It is true. So, but anyway, back to Biden's speech. Yes. There's one other thing I wanted to mention.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you have more, but did you know that his slogan, Build Back Better, is actually the slogan of the Great Reset?
Yes. Though
I was unaware of that.
Though I believe it was like it's a slogan that predates the Great Reset, but the Great Reset has taken that and run with it. Taken somebody else's term and, used it for their own purposes. That's never happened before.
And last night during his address, he was talking about how, they need to pass everything that they can, get it on his desk, blah, blah, blah. And then he made a comment, and I don't have the exact comment, but it was along the lines of, with the way things are moving and changing so fast, can democracy really keep up with it? Or do we need an autocracy?
That's some creepy crap.
Yeah. So that's why, even though I don't want to watch him because I'd rather throat punch him than have to listen to what he has to say, or his minion Kamala. I'd really like to throat punch her, especially when she's doing that condescending laugh. But
just the horrible.
They are telling us what they are doing now, but we're not listening because we think that people are good people. So we have that issue. They're not good people, and they're telling us they're not good people.
Right.
And then they're boring, and they're doing it on purpose, from what I understand. And the more I think about it, the more that makes sense. Because pretty much anyone I spoke to last night said, I'm not watching that. So they've made it into this thing nobody wants to see. And I think that's a clue. We should probably start paying attention.
Right.
But I don't know. So Biden wants an autocracy. They're trying to get that. Giuliani's in trouble, but Hunter's not. I mean, we're living in an upside down, backwards, as my kids used to say, upsy downsies. So,
In a totally upside down world where there are 13 new emergency centers of illegals.
Right. Oh, and then he was saying that the border crisis was something he inherited from Trump. I'm pretty sure that no matter what news source you're using, you can't spin that one. I mean, how can you spin that? There's like 300 times as many people down there as there ever were when Trump was in office. So, I mean, as our friend Bone says, I see some bad math going on here.
Yeah. Well, totally. And I think part of it is that, that the sort of enforced COVID rules have changed the world so much. And even how you look on the past, that it's like, oh, well, this was so horrible that you sort of blank out. Like, actually, times were pretty good before that. Like, things were booming, things were exciting. Right. And now with Biden, it's let's erase everything of Trump and link us into the hell of Obama just longer. And
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. It's like Obama on steroids. It's like stuff that we hated then, but oh wait, we can make it worse.
oh yeah,
Like there's more.
right. No, totally. But in slightly better news, um, but that now is also the season of conservative speeches, campaigns, rallies. I know Hillsdale College is doing a sort of summit thing. Trump is talking about doing rallies again, though of course he won't talk about a presidential run until the midterms, but he is all gearing up to go. There's good news coming out of Arizona for their election audit. That's exciting. Nigel Farage is doing a tour around America with Freedom Works. So doing the sort of that he's going to give speeches to encourage sort of grassroots activism. I don't like the term activism, even though it's technically what you're doing, that it's sort of a get involved with your community and get stuff done sort of thing, talking about what happened with Brexit. So super excited for that one.
Yeah.
All
Yeah. Our friend Anne is just dying. The minute she heard that announcement, her head literally exploded off of her shoulders because Nigel Farage is going to be here. And she might have to do a little dance about it.
Maybe not on camera though. No, I am really excited for that one. Yeah, I think it's gonna be good. We're gonna have a good time here.
I think good things are happening, and so to piggyback on all the stuff that Anne's talking about, in Arizona, there was a school board meeting where tons of parents came. They were protesting the mask mandates, and some stories said that they got the school board to resign and some didn't, so it's a little unclear. But what they did happen was that the meeting stopped because there were so many of them. They overwhelmed the meeting, and they might not have gotten the mask mandate changed yet, but they are making a difference. They are coming, they are standing up, they are showing that this stuff matters. And so therefore, guys, it's a way we can really make our voices heard. It's not anything crazy you have to do. Get your friends. I mean, if you're watching us, you probably have friends that feel like you also, and say, hey, let's go to school board meeting. Let's talk about masks. Because it's got to start somewhere, and that's a good way to do it. Mm-hmm. And last week, I think Anne said that Nigel, when he started Brexit, he was the only person talking Brexit.
Right.
And it's a thing that actually happened. And so you and your best friend and their husbands and whatever, mm-hmm. go to the school board meeting and say, we don't think masks are necessary. We don't like this. We're not doing this to our kids. Mm-hmm. And it's going to catch on. So
right. And I think part of the sort of origins of Brexit was going around campaigning. You're meeting people, you're talking to people personally, and it's changing it from the culture. And we have an excellent head start going because we've already had, our 4 years of Trump, and then the new people who are kind of waking up through this lockdown, that there are plenty of people who are concerned about this, about all the different issues that we have going on. It's just a matter of, getting together and as a group moving in a direction.
Yes, so. Absolutely. And I think that that's the thing. Instead of, Chicken Lady was on saying that she went and campaigned. It doesn't have to be big earth-shattering things that you do. It can be, going around saying, hey, are you going to vote? Here's the thing about this guy that's running. Right. It doesn't have to be crazy. It might be enough for someone. That might be all they need.
Right. Just a simple get out the vote effort. Or
yep, there's ways to start doing it, and you don't have to be, like I said last week, it's not like you have to be like, hey, look at my Trump shirt, look at me. You can just be like, hey, let's start talking common sense stuff around here and see what people say.
Right.
So, because I think that's a lot of it, is that they think that we're like all of these crazies. I was actually reading something today who said that, like, being a conservative Christian is like such a bad thing. And she was saying, they put you in this box to make you like an other. And she was telling the story about how one of the things that she likes to craft are items for a local shelter that helps LGBTQIA plus people.
Mm-hmm.
And so just because she's a conservative Christian doesn't mean that she hates those people. And
Right.
we just need to start working on these perceptions that they have where we're so bad, we're so other, we're so, just because we're Christians doesn't mean we hate anybody. It doesn't mean, there's people in every group that cause a stereotype, right? So
Right.
yeah, it happens, but most of us are normal, nice, calm people, and doing that and showing and being able to craft for the shelter or you know there are ways to go about changing perceptions, and it doesn't all have to be crazy earth shattering, I'm going to run for president. It can just be like, I don't know.
Right. And part of that too is, to a certain extent, no matter what you do, people will try to paint you as evil anyways. That you could be the nicest person ever, and they're going to say, well, I still think you're horrible because you believe X. But
Mm-hmm.
part of it is, it's like, well, keep on proving them wrong. Just keep going. Just keep going. Keep doing the good thing. Keep doing.
Yeah, if I was really worried about what people thought about me, I would have stopped designing a long time ago, because I've been called more or less every name that I could probably have been called.
Mhm.
So, it I keep on because it's what I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
And it sometimes hurts my feelings. Like, nobody wants to be called names, but on the other hand, I know what I'm doing is right. So
Right.
move on. Do it.
Exactly. Well, I think that is about it for this week. So keep on keeping on, everybody. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We have our podcast. You're either watching us on YouTube or Rumble. So check us out on whichever one you're not watching. Got that. And you're on Facebook. We're both on Instagram, on MeWe and Gab and Parler,
Telegram.
Telegram. Yeah.
Yeah.
I admit neither of those three I'm on a lot, but I'm there. And
Yes. Um, and guys, you did an awesome job last week. The comments helped expose us. We got a lot of comments last week, and it helped expose us to new people. So
yeah,
keep
thank you
up.
all.
You guys are helping. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next week.
Yep. We'll see you guys then. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Bye.